He shoved her so hard she fell into a table. She had a bruise the size of my fist, and he thought he'd get away with it. But what he didn't know? I had the keys to his entire future, and one phone call later, I erased him from school and maybe from the country. This is how I made sure a bully never touched my friend again. Chapter 1. The Before Times. It was the early days of the internet. No smartphones, no social media dominance, just chunky desktops, dial-up connections, and a feeling that technology was about to change everything. I was a student at the local junior college, balancing part-time work in the administration office and a new living arrangement with my girlfriend Lucy. We moved in together to save on rent. Life felt simple, comfortable. We'd cook dinner, binge DVDs, host little game nights with friends, and one night, Lucy invited a friend from class, Sarah. When I opened the door, my eyebrows shot up. Sarah wasn't just Lucy's friend, she was someone I knew from high school. We weren't close, but we'd always gotten along. The night was a hit. Laughter, cards, pizza grease on napkins. Sarah fit right in. Chapter 2. A new regular. From then on, Sarah became a fixture in our home. Dinner, movies, game nights. She even brought her boyfriend, Jay, a few times, though brought might be too generous a word. Jay was a presence, but not a pleasant one. Quiet, standoffish, leaning back in his chair with his arms crossed like we'd dragged him into a room full of enemies. He never laughed, never joined in, just glared. We still invited him sometimes, out of politeness, but you could feel it in the room. No one was comfortable around him. Chapter 3. The call. It was a Tuesday night when Lucy's phone rang. Sarah's voice was shaking. She asked if she could come over. No explanation. Just a cracked, desperate please. 15 minutes later, she was at our door, red-eyed, trembling, hugging herself like she was holding her ribs together. The story spilled out between shaky breaths. Jay had accused her of cheating. No, not with someone in particular. He just decided that her spending time here was suspicious. When she tried to leave, he blocked her, shoved her back. She tripped over a coffee table and slammed onto the floor. Lucy saw the bruise later, ugly, blooming across her lower back. Sarah insisted it was an accident, said he'd never hurt her before. But her voice, it was the voice of someone trying to believe it. Chapter 4. The Boil. I'm not a violent person, never been in a fight, but in that moment, my blood felt like it was vibrating, my palms itched, my teeth clenched so hard my jaw ached. You don't put your hands on my friends. You don't make them afraid to leave. If I'd seen Jay right then, I don't know what I would have done. But instead, something colder slid into my mind. Something patient. I didn't just want him to hurt. I wanted his whole world to collapse, and for him to never see it coming. Chapter 5. The Access. Here's the thing. I worked in the administration building at school. As part of my job, I could access student records, schedules, fees, ID numbers, and there was a date coming up. The last possible day to add or drop classes without penalty. I typed his name, pulled up his file. There it was. His schedule, his ID, his future laid out in neat little rows. All I had to do was reach out and twist. Chapter 6. The Execution. On the final day, I used the dedicated enrollment phone. This was before online scheduling was standard. Click. I dropped all his classes. And then for good measure, I added every course I could find that came with an extra fee. Art classes with expensive materials. Lab sciences with costly equipment. If you owed money, you couldn't get transcripts. You couldn't register again. And there was one more thing. Jay was a foreign student. Without enough enrolled units, he couldn't legally stay in the country. When I hung up the phone, I knew I'd done more than inconvenience him. I might have just erased his entire semester. Chapter 7. The Fallout. I didn't check his records right away. I didn't want my fingerprints anywhere near this. But Sarah? She had an English class with him every Tuesday. She came home one afternoon with a strange smile. Jay had shown up as usual, but there was a new student standing in the back. No seat left. The professor looked confused, called roll, and Jay's name wasn't on it. Sarah said he tried to argue, waving his arms, insisting there was a mistake. But the professor just pointed to the roster. If you're not on here, you're not enrolled. He never came back to that class again. Chapter 8. The vanished weeks passed. Lucy and I eventually broke up, and I lost touch with Sarah. One day, curiosity got the better of me. I pulled up his file again. Every class with a course fee was gone, but there were no other classes listed either. No enrollment at all. I don't know if he was kicked out of school, maybe even sent home. But he was gone. Chapter 9. The Reflection. Sometimes I wonder, was it too much? But then I think of Sarah's bruises, her shaking voice. The way she kept saying it was an accident while her eyes told the truth. Maybe I didn't ruin his life, but I definitely ruined his semester. And I made sure he couldn't hurt her. At least not in the halls of our school. Jay walks into class, tries to bluff his way in, but the teacher shuts him down in front of everyone. He disappears from Sarah's life entirely. Justice doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes it's a quiet click on a phone and the sound of someone's entire plan unraveling. And for me, that was enough. If that felt as satisfying to you as it did to me, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the smartest revenge you've ever seen? Subscribe for more stories like this. And remember, sometimes karma just needs a little push.